There is some data that was analyzed by a finance app out there. It's called Fritch. Have you heard of Fritch?
No.
I have not either. But they say the average cost of a breakup for Gen Z. Also, apparently the new term for Gen Z. Have you heard Zoomer before?
No.
They're called Zoomers.
But that makes so much sense.
So they're Zoomers. I started seeing Zoomer this week.
Yes, because they liken them to the new boomer in a lot of ideologies.
Yes.
So Zoomer makes so much sense. I like it.
The average cost of a breakup for Gen Z, almost $4,000. The cost was determined by tallying up expenses like housing. So instead of living with your partner, you're now on your own.
Mm-hmm.
Travel, which I found interesting. Dating, and post-breakup spending. So dating, like, okay. If
Retail therapy.
If you're in a relationship, though, aren't you spending on dating? If you're single, I guess you're spending trying to find the person who you're going to be with again?
Yes, depending on who's the person who's paying for the dates when you're back on the scene.
How does travel factor into this?
I don't know. Some people get over things. Catch flights, not feelings.
Huh.
That's a thing. So I think that, people deal in different ways, but mostly with Gen Z, it's going to be with the wallet. I just had no idea. I also saw in this article that it's called March theory. Apparently
March theory?
Yeah, the most breakups happen in the month of March. I don't know why. I don't know if it's just because it's like
after Valentine's, then you just call it quits?
Maybe it's that, or maybe it's just
I would think right before Thanksgiving is when you would want to cut it off, because then you avoid Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's.
That's when people want to be cuddled up with somebody. Nobody wants to be alone during the holidays because it's just like a little depressing. So people hang on. They call it cuffing season, and they hang on during that time. But maybe because of March, it's like right when it's about to be spring, and then it's summer, and people are feeling their best and back in the gym, and I don't know, whatever it is. That would be my only guess. I just had no idea that the month of March is the one with the most breakups.
This article from the New York Post says sometimes the best post-breakup medicine is saying you only live once and booking a week-long trip to take a nice change of scenery. Zoomers who choose that route, 20% of them admit to spending almost $2,000 on a vacation.
Traveling is expensive.
After a breakup, you're like, you know what? I was with her so long, I'm just going to drop 2 G's and go to Vegas. Woo!
Well, a lot of times, I'm somebody who really likes to gift in relationships. If I have the money, I gift a lot.
But that means
because that's how I express myself.
If you're not in the relationship, you have the money then. You're not...
Yes, so now you can gift yourself because you've been gifting the other person so often. So now you're like, whoa, wow, okay, I guess I can gift myself now.
Lady Law in for Chris Merrill today on the Chris and Joe Show. Do you want to explain any of your philosophies that you were throwing out at Pablo and I in pre-show rehearsal where you were talking about relationships at all? Because I loved what you were saying.
I just think that there is 1,000 different ways to be in relationship with one another. Doesn't matter what gender, what your attraction is, anything like that.
What are your views on marriage?
My views, it's just not necessary. I feel like it's not
really for you.
It's a dated adage, archetype, whatever it is. I think it's worked for people in the past, but things are so different now in the way that we approach life and the expectations for partners and what it looks like to child rear. Like all of these ideas have evolved, but somehow the outlook on marriage seems to still be so old school. And I feel like there's so many ways. And for me personally, it's definitely a more evolved version of that. And I am just not a big fan of cohabitating anymore. I've done it.
Yeah.
And I'm just not interested in it going further because I feel like the woman oftentimes, especially in Western society and maybe in others as well, but I'll just speak to the one that I've lived, we end up taking on this invisible labor living with partners where we're deciding now what's for dinner. It's on us to decide. It's on us to do the shopping. It's on us to do the laundry all of a sudden, whatever. And it's like, whoa, wait, time out. Like, I didn't sign up to cohabitate in order to take on your duties in addition to my own. And then you see some of these things online where partners are going, well, my husband does his own laundry. My husband makes his own plate. And people are going, what? What's the point of even having a wife then? If he's got to do all his own things. And it's like, it's those kinds of things that make me feel like, know what? I already do all those things for myself. I don't want to do it for someone else as well. So unless, you're going to partner up with somebody who shares the same ideology and is willing to take on their own weight as well, I don't see the point of cohabitating.
Can I share a sentence or two that kind of stands out in my head from what you said? Because I thought it was very deep, and I really liked it, what you said earlier. Because you said you really value relationships, but you feel very judged a lot of times. And that's kind of how I digested what you said. And
like if I shared outward perspective about cohabitating or stuff like that, I definitely feel like
I try to be very respectful of other people's perspective, and I just want them to respect my view on life, which I think, hey, whatever you want to do, who am I to tell you how do you live your life?
It doesn't impact you, you know? It doesn't matter. It doesn't impact you. And I have parents who just celebrated their 35th year anniversary.
My parents just hit 50.
So, they're obviously doing it old school and stuff like that. But I just feel like how nice that I live during a time where I can take as many approaches or as many evolved approaches that I want to or don't want to when it comes to marriage.
The thing that I loved is that you said you still want to be in a relationship.
Absolutely, yeah.
And you want the person to live right next door to you.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
You want them to have, you got a house, they got the house right next door. Not a casita in the backyard.
No.
House right next door.
No, it would be cool.
Yeah.
Because I feel like, a lot of times people argue over the style of home they want to live in. Oh, my wife wants to burn candles all the time or wants to have this kind of decoration. And I need a man cave. Essentially what you're doing is creating two different living spaces because you guys don't like things to be exactly the same. Yeah. Another thing, I have a good friend of mine who they're engaged now and they're going to get married, but they both have separate rooms in their home.
Okay.
He has his bedroom, she has her bedroom. Oh. And that way they have their own spaces to go to whatever, unwind at the end of the day. Or sometimes you need to really get good sleep and your husband's a snorer or whatever. And it's like, you know what? I'm going to my room. I'm going to sleep before I got to go to work. I have this big presentation tomorrow, whatever. I just am really enthralled by different approaches to doing life. And I feel like you don't have to do things the way they've always been done.
We're talking about what's going on with these tariffs. We're on to, what is this, technically day 3?
I don't know. It's
day
3. I thought it was 3 months we've been dealing with this already.
There you go. Americans certainly bearing the brunt of President Trump's newest tariffs. Price increases already in place on cars, clothing, electronics, other stuff. It's going to all be coming here. And when you head to the grocery store, some of the spots where you're going to see it the soonest, sugar, coffee, rice, prepared soups, and nuts are supposed to be some of the first areas where we see it at the grocery store. 95% of the olive oil supply in the U.S. is imported, most of it coming from Italy, Spain, Tunisia, and Turkey. So going to be a whole lot of it there. And the big one, steepest price increases could begin with morning coffee, almost all of which comes from overseas. So I wonder, I'm not a coffee drinker, but if you're paying, what is a cup of coffee right now? $5, $6 if you get a Starbucks, a Dutch Bros?
At least. That's
if you don't get like the super grande.
Yeah.
So if you don't get your coffee in a bucket, it's costing you $6. So does that go up another $1? Does that go up $2?
I think it's going to go up a lot because the tariffs just aren't on that coffee bean. It's also going to be on the cup that it comes in, the lids that are made, the spoon that you stir it with.
All that stuff is made overseas?
All of that stuff is coming. As a small business owner, the way you're going to get it the fastest, the best, and the most affordable is that you're going to import it from another country.
One owner says that he's already raised prices 8% this year to offset rising costs. But 8%, I don't think that's the end of this.
No, not at all. We're looking at way steeper stuff than that. So we're just going to have to wait to see how it all trickles down to us because as Jim Rounds had told us, the economist expert, this is a sales tax on the public.
Yeah, so cars, electronics, we just mentioned coffee, chocolate, vanilla, bananas, fruits, vegetables from South America, all those things. Then I'm also seeing here as well, top retailers like Nike, for instance. They'd shifted their production away from China and they went to Vietnam, Bangladesh to avoid the tariffs. Well, also clothing retailers, not just Nike, H&M, The Gap, they're also going to be heavily affected. Amazon, Target, Walmart. There is not going to be a business out there that's going to be spared. If I recall right, the article that I read the other day said the average American will be forking over about an extra $2,000 as a result of the tariffs each year.
That's a lower number than I saw.
What'd you see?
I saw $3,500.
Well, if you're buying a new car, they said a new car, the price will, and it's a foreign car, the price will be up between $5,000 to $14,000. If it's a used car, they said about $3,000 to $6,000.
Goodness, I am so lucky that I'm not in the market for a new
good thing
vehicle.
I only have like 130,000 miles on my car.
Well, we laugh so we don't cry, okay? I'm just laughing so I don't cry. But
I will be walking to work.
Yeah, you're going to have to use your legs.
I can. I mean,
or a
that's
bicycle.
That's not going to be ideal in July, but I'll figure it out. I'm like 4 miles away. I can do it.
I think that this is going to push us to be far more resourceful than we've been in the past because we've been so comfortable. And these prices are going to force us to, I think in my social circle, the things that I've been saying at like dinner conversations about this kind of stuff is I've been saying, well, you know what? It is going to force us back into community because this is going to be the only way we're going to be able to survive these things. We're not going to be able to be like, well, I'll just buy it myself. I'll just buy it myself. These things are going to, force us to be in community with one another and start sharing again and start hopping rides with people and stuff like that because it's not going to make sense for you to fill up your gas tank and me fill up my gas tank and we're both going to the same place. Let's just hop in and share a ride together. All of these types of things that used to be communal in the past that have gone away with our comfort and being able to pay for things, now we're going to have to revert back and be more resourceful. And I think that might not be so bad when it comes to mental health. It might actually help us out.
More bright spots.
Thanks for watching The Chris and Joe Show. Click to see more from Chris and Joe and tap the button in the middle to subscribe to KTAR News.